All right, guys. My apologies. My apologies. Technology, you know how it goes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Merry Christmas in advance. You guys see, December, I am in December Christmas mode. So I am sorry, guys. Please, the earlier link, go ahead and share that. Sorry, go ahead and share this link. This is the link that we're going to be using for this session. So I'm sorry about earlier. Technology just doesn't always work when you need it. But I'm glad to be online and welcome again. My name is Richard Berrycat. This podcast episode is brought to you by Berrycat at berrycat.com, trusted US Nigeria business platform. You can visit us at www.berrycat.com. Let's do business. So it's Friday. Hope you all had a wonderful week. Hope you're looking forward to a wonderful weekend. So today we are going to talk about oil. The topic is oil palm farming still worth investing in 2026? What do you guys think? Push your answer in the chat. So for me, is it worth investing in 2026? For me, you're just going to have to wait until the end of the session for my answer. You see, this is one of those topics that I've been sitting on the fence on for the past 5 years. But it's time for me to get off the fence. Guys, I have to choose a side. I've defended this sector for 5 years. But when I look at global markets and I look at Nigeria's role, I'm talking about global markets as far as palm oil goes, and I look at Nigeria's role, it bothers me. I kind of liken it to being in a relationship or trying to be in a relationship with someone. You know the relationship has potential. You love the person. You really want it to work. You want it to work so badly you can feel it in your bones. That is sort of like my relationship with the Nigerian oil palm business or the Nigerian oil palm sector. It's one of those relationships that I so badly want to work. Did I do oil exploration in the past? Yes, I have dabbled in palm oil exports in the past. So I have a little bit of a close relationship, a bond. You're looking at a country that was once number one in terms of palm oil production. Now Nigeria is reduced to the importation of palm oil. Well, Rich, does Nigeria export? Yes, Nigeria does export palm oil, but in small volumes. The volume is too tiny to really make an impact on the global stage when it comes to palm oil exportation. So I'm going to give you guys, again, it's so small, it does not influence anything. I'm talking about Nigeria's palm oil export sector. It doesn't make a dent compared to countries like Malaysia, Bangladesh, India. Nigeria's palm oil export sector is very, very weak. It doesn't make a dent at all. So we're going to look at what is happening. We're talking about, well, as far as like the Nigerian Stock Exchange, like who are the main players in the palm oil manufacturing sector? You're looking at companies like Okumu Oil, and then you have Presco Oil. So as of today, Friday, Okumu is trading at about 1,110 naira per share. And then Presco is 1,450 naira per share. And when I was looking at the graph, it was literally just, it's flatlined for a few months now. So that just tells me that it's not as strong as we want it to be, as far as like Presco and Okomu's impact in the Nigerian palm oil. The screen is bugging me. In Nigeria's palm oil uh, sector. So yes, Nigeria exports, but Nigeria is not a major exporter of palm oil. So let's look at Nigeria's place in all of this. Like how much? Can you guys tell me? Do you know how many tons of palm oil that Nigeria consumes per year? And how many tons does Nigeria produce per year? So currently, as of now, Nigeria produces about 1.5 million metric tons of palm oil a year, and it consumes 2 million metric tons of palm oil per year. So there's that deficit of what? 500,000 metric tons per year deficit. And how does Nigeria make up? How does Nigeria feel that Nigeria has to import red oil, refined oil from countries like Malaysia, India, and even China? So if you are based abroad, just do me a favor this weekend. Walk into a Nigerian store where you are based abroad. Walk into a Nigerian store. Look at the shelf, the palm oil shelf. And look at the back. Let me know what you see. The majority of the palm oil, the red oil consumed by Nigerians in the United States are not from Nigeria. You're going to see Ghanaian palm oil. You're even going to see Indian palm oil. You see, the confidence in palm oil importation in the United States, it's so weak that most of these Nigerian restaurants, Nigerian provision stores, Nigerian grocery stores, they have to import red oil from other countries other than Nigeria. What is really going on? When you look at the value chain of palm oil, it's very, very simple. It starts with farming or plantation. And then it starts with after plantation, after you've cultivated, then you got to do what? Then you have to process. You see, 90% of Nigerian palm oil producers, they actually stop there. They farm, they harvest. So harvest is part of that farming value chain, part of the plantation value chain. And then the process in a small scale, crude palm oil, CPO, is where they stop. They don't do the third value chain, which is refining. See, that is where the true opportunity or the true export potential is, because contrary to what you might think, only a very few people actually consume crude palm oil, CPO. Most of the world consumes RPO, that's refined palm oil. It's not the red one, it's the other one. Nigeria mostly stops at that crude palm oil. And there are studies out there, should you choose to believe it, that it's actually not that healthy for you. But you know what? We grew up on it, is what we've been eating, and for generations. You can't really make any Nigerian soup, Nigerian swallow, or Nigerian soup or bono afang without red palm oil. So that market is very, very small. Where the true opportunity is in the RPO, the refined palm oil. That is what they use in the United States. It's what they use in other European countries. The red palm oil that you see that's sold in Nigerian markets in the United States, that is mostly limited to Nigerians and African consumers. There's a lot of factors affecting this issue. When you're looking at a deficit of 500 tons per year, that means that all of the farmlands in Nigeria cannot cultivate enough to meet the demands of local consumption, much less surplus, which you end up exporting. Dangote is facing the same problem right now with Dangote refinery. I know I'm branching off here a little bit. The situation is also similar. Unfortunately, Nigeria cannot supply enough crude oil for Dangote to refine. So he has to depend on the importation of crude oil that he will then refine into the gasoline that we use in our cars and our generators to be able to meet local consumption, and then he exports the rest. We are in that same boat when it comes to oil farming and oil plantation and oil cultivation and exports. Well, Rich, but people still export a little bit now, like the little volume that you talked about that Nigeria exports, the one that we cannot, the volume is not large enough for us to make an impact on a global stage. People do that, but the problem with that is this: in order for you to make a little dent, I'm talking about in the plantation phase of this, you're going to need a minimum of 2 hectares of land. Because 1 hectare can only generate about 10 to 12 tons. That's the most you're going to get from 1 hectare of our oil palm plantation. 10 to 12 tons of finished red oil. We're not talking about refining because 90% of the population can't do that. It's the Okomus and the Prescos. Those are the ones that are really in the refining, the palm oil refining scale, on a commercial scale. So you're going to need at least a minimum of 2 hectares to really make a dent. Because for you to fill up a 20-foot container, a standard 20-foot container, that takes 25 tons to fill it up from the bottom to the top, 25 tons. So you're going to need at least 2 hectares. How many smallholder farmers in Nigeria can do that? That is why we have a deficit issue. When you look at the regions of Nigeria where oil palm is cultivated, you're looking at everything below the middle belt of Nigeria because oil palm is not cultivated in the northern parts. You're looking at Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Kogi State, Edo State, where Okomu and what do you call it, Presco. That's like the region. That's where they operate from. There's just not enough people currently farming. Even if there were, if you were to turn Nigeria upside down and just have everybody, all hands on deck, cultivating palm oil, it's still going to take you at least 5 years to see returns on your investment. Because you got to go through the seedling phase. That is anywhere from 4 to 5 years, depending on the quality of your soil. And that is barring anything happening. We live in a world now where farmers are not confident to farm their lands. That really isn't happening much in the southeastern, south part of Nigeria, though. That's more in the middle belt, like Benue and up. But still, most Nigerians still look at farming as a beneath my level occupation. Remember, at one point, pre-independence, Nigeria was number one. Before oil, fossil fuel, oil took over, and agriculture was just pushed back to the back burner so far back that is almost virtually impossible to recover from. So sitting on the fence for the past 5 years, I've sat and I've just trying to figure out a way to make it work. Do I what do you do? Do you then invest in a company like Okomu Oil and Presco Oil that's in the business of palm oil farming, cultivation, processing, and export? But then you also have to look at the stock performance of these companies. I mean, if you have the investment, if you have the money, maybe you want to throw $500 at it, throw $1,000 at it, and see what happens in maybe 5 years. I still think that is probably a better option than what land banking. See how your money performs with Okomu, 1,110 naira as of today per share. Maybe you can try that. I've also been looking, like I said, I've been looking into, in past videos, I've talked about looking into investing in Okomu myself and also Presco myself. But then I just keep looking at the trends. It's not encouraging. It's not usually because I have US stocks as well that I invest in. When I see my stocks performing well, what do? I add more money. I invest more because I'm watching it grow. As of right now, Como and Presco, the two top players in the palm oil refining space in Nigeria, are really not that they're not performing that well. And we're looking at a situation, this is a simplified value chain. So you're going to ask, well, how much is red oil going for right now in the markets? It's about $900 to $950 per ton. I'm getting somewhere here. Refined palm oil is actually premium. So that's more. That's going for about $980 to $1,200 per ton. So let's look at what palm oil is selling for right now. And I'll do a little bit of a comparison between local Nigerian palm oil sales and the US side. So in the United States, you can go on a platform like Amazon and buy a liter of palm oil for $20. Okay, so that yellow jerry can that we use in Nigeria, that jerry can is anywhere, depending on the size, it could be anywhere from 20 liters to 25 liters for that jerry can. So the last time that I checked, palm oil in Nigeria was going, this was about a month, 2 months ago. I don't know what it is now, but I'm pretty sure with Christmas coming up, it's much higher. But the last rate that I got for a 25 liter of red palm oil in Nigeria was 70,000 naira. So 70,000 divided by 25. That's 2,800 naira per liter locally in Nigeria. That same liter, you can get $20 for it in the United States. So 20 times, let's just say exchange rate is 1450. 29,000, an equivalent of 29,000 naira per liter divided by 2800. You can get 10x in the United States compared to Nigeria. So you can see, and I can guarantee you this, and I don't have the proof, I don't have insider knowledge on this, but I can almost guarantee you, like companies like Presco and what do you call it, Okomu, local demand be damned. They're not looking at local demand. They're not interested in that. The little that they are able to refine and process is exported because they have to answer to shareholders. They're not beholding to you, the local customer there in Nigeria. They're not beholding to you. They're beholding to the shareholders. Doesn't it make sense? If you were Okomu or Presco, wouldn't you export the little that you are able to refine and process there locally? Why would you sell locally to the locals? There's no money. There is no money in localizing your palm oil in Nigeria. Nigeria is a volume play. You have to sell a lot of volume for it to even make sense. So the little smallholder farmers that are able to mill the oil in their backyard, and by the way, this is actually illegal because it's not as if that they're milling in a certified environment. They're milling it locally there, they'll sell it to somebody, they'll trade it abroad. That is the little volume. That is what really makes sense as far as if you want to at least, you're not going to get rich in oil farming. You're not going to make a lot of money in palm oil, in oil palm farming in Nigeria. Just farming alone isn't going to make it work. And even if you were to refine and process there locally and sell, if you were to take your palm oil to the market right now, I'm guaranteeing you, you're not going to leave that market without palm oil. You're going to be sold out. But then you're talking about razor thin profit margins in a local Naira currency. That doesn't really benefit you if you are a local smallholder or palm farmer in Nigeria. And by smallholder, I'm talking about less than 5 hectares. How many smallholder farmers in Nigeria actually have that? Or perhaps, if you're a smallholder farmer, you don't want to deal with the headache of cultivation or the headache of doing your backyard milling. You could lease your land to companies like Okomu and Presco. They are looking, they are always looking for all palm farmers in that Edo region. You may not even have to be in Edo. You could be in Akwa Ibom State. Okomu is looking for suppliers. Okomu is looking for all palm farmers right now. Same thing with Presco. You can go on their website. But you have to apply and be accepted as a vendor. You're going to have to meet their requirements. If they have sustainable requirements, sustainability requirements, you're just going to have to meet that if you want to be in their fold. If I were farming right now, all palm farming right now, maybe that's what I would do. Is just lease out my farmland to the Okomus and the Prescos of Nigeria and let them deal with the harvesting and the cultivation. And then every year, I either collect my royalties or I collect my lease. Most Nigerians are not aware that there's that option available to them. So if you have a farmland and you are considering cultivating or planting all palm on it, just know that it's a long-term play. It's a marathon. It's not something that you can roll over, like let's say cassava or corn. Like one season you plant corn on the land, the next season you plant cassava on the land, the next season you plant something else on the land. All palm tree is permanent. Unless you are looking at it from that standpoint, like this is going to be a permanent operation for me. This is going to be a permanent business for me. It's not something that I would advise you to get into. It's going to take you, like I said, for the first 5 years that you're in that line of work or in that line of business, is output, output, output. There is no income coming in. So that's the value. It's a very simplistic and simplified value chain. You got the plantation, you have the processing, which most Nigerians, that's really where they stop at. And then you have the refining into RPO, where the true opportunity is. Man, I just have to take a stand now. I don't know. I don't have as much confidence in this commodity that I once had 5 years ago. The confidence level is just not there because there is no indication that is telling me that this is a great space to continue. So yes, is it uh is it time to end the relationship? Is it time to end the relationship with my stand on this? I honestly just don't see a path forward. I don't see a path forward. Yes, there are other things out there too, like like in Lagos or in Oyo, Ogun states, those areas, there are like all palm estates, is what they call them now, where you buy land and then they'll cultivate uh while you're waiting to develop your land. There's that option for you to allow them to cultivate oil palm tree for you on that land. But just know that on a, let's say, 500 square meter land, the most you can fit on that land is about 10 trees. If you're looking at about a 1,000 square meter farmland, the most you can fit on it comfortably, because you got to have the right spacing, is about 15 to 20 trees. A hectare is what? 10,000 square meters. That's what a hectare is. So that 1,000 square meter, the 10 to 20 all palm trees that you're going to put on that land. Let's say you want to process that. If you are abroad, you just want to say, you know what, Rich, I'm not going to use this land for 10 years. Let me just, to secure it and to further protect it, maybe make a little bit of money on it. I'm going to allow them to go ahead and cultivate the palm oil for me. So the palm oil tree on that land for me. These guys will take care of that, the cultivation. They'll handle everything. Obviously, it's not free. You have to pay for that. And then let's say you fast forward 5 years goes by, and then the trees, your 20 tree stands are ready to be harvested and processed into red palm oil. What's the most you think you're gonna get out of that? You're not gonna get more than 50 liters. You're not. Is it worth it? Is it, I mean, I suppose you bring in 50 liters, you export 50 liters from your land in 5 years, and well, let's do the math here. Oh, that's $20 per liter times 50. So in 5 years' time, well, you get $1,000. To some people, it's worth it. To others, it may be considered peanuts and a waste of time. Or what do you do? The other option is just to leave your land there and not cultivate it and not plant any palm trees on it, and just leave it and then just hope that you are ready to develop it into something like a more of like a commercial property, or maybe even a personal private residence for yourself. But there's that option out there. There are states out there right now that are offering the they call them like the all palm estates. There's quite a few of them right now popping up in Nigeria there, where you have that option. Personally, I just consider it. I mean, again, I don't know. That's even if you get 50 liters. But remember, you still got to pay for the labor. You still got to pay for the processing of the oil. So by the time you deduct all of your expenses, is it really worth it? You're not really going to make a dent unless you are doing at least 5 hectares and up. At the very minimum, I'll give you 2 hectares. If you have less than 2 hectares of arable land suitable for oil palm, do you want to get into that line of work? I mean, farming is tough in Nigeria. Even if you were, let's say you don't want to do that, you want to do cassava farming, that's even worse than oil palm farming. I've said this before in previous videos. You can't get rich in Nigeria just farming alone. You got to process. You can't refine because you just don't have the machinery to be able to refine. So you have to locally process the red oil if you want to at least make it work for you. You just can't farm alone. You're gonna at least process it into red oil. But you are limited to Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. I'm telling you guys, the majority of the people who consume red oil abroad are Africans. Because there's studies out there that is really not that healthy for you. So we have that, and then we have the city. We're not even going to get into because I've beaten this down to death as far as like the farming insecurities. We're not even going to get into that. That is also what is contributing to this utter failure of Nigerian oil palm exports. um Land disputes, people are buying fake seedlings, poor farm roads. For you to even get to your farm and get out of your farm is a problem. And then you have like theft of fruits. Yes, people do go and they will literally steal your palm fruits. And for the majority of my audience, I cater mostly to American audiences. How are you going to protect your farmland from abroad? Even if you were to install CCTV cameras, I think they're just going to largely ignore it. Because you are based abroad, they say that you're not there. You even have a local farm. Even locally, there, if you were to put a farm manager there, people are still going to steal. And I had issues with that too. You can't prevent crop theft in Nigeria. It's very, very difficult to prevent. When I was cultivating cassava back in the day, I had that same issue. You've waited all year long. You're tending to your farm. These guys are just watching. They're watching. They're watching. When they see that crop is ready for harvest in the middle of the night, they'll just go and start picking things up left and right. Same thing happens with all palm fruits. It's prone to theft. So let's look at some of the tier one states for all palm cultivation. For those who are interested in it, the tier one states, so there's three different tiers here. So you have Akwa Ibom State, Cross River, you have Rivers State, and Edo State. Those four states are considered tier one, very, very strong states for an all palm plantation. So the second tier, this is good, but it needs strong management. You have Abia, Imo, Delta, Bayelsa, and Ondo. And then the tier three states here that requires technology and irrigation. You see, this tier one or tier two, you don't really have to worry so much about irrigation because it rains a lot there. And for those who are planting for the first time, you always want to plant around late March, early April, because you're planting into the rainy season. And you're going to need that rainfall. You're going to need that natural irrigation for the seedlings to be able to establish their root system. Once it gets to and then that rainfall can carry you in the tier one, tier two states that I mentioned. That rainfall can actually carry you through the entire year. So you don't have to worry about going out there and watering it yourself or setting up an irrigation system. So yeah, once the root system is established, you are good to go. So it's very resilient. Like all palm is very resilient. And then the third tier, this is going to require a lot of hands-on. You're looking at like the Kogi, the Kwara, Benue, the Taraba. So now we're looking at like middle Nigeria to northern Nigeria. That's like the tier three. That's it. That's all you get. So what does this tell me? It just tells me that what? All palm can only be cultivated properly in how many states in Nigeria? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. I'll give you 10 states at the most. In a state of 36 states. So only a quarter of that can actually cultivate all palm trees in Nigeria. So back to the beginning of this session. I told you guys I'm going to give you guys my answer. If all palm farming, all palm business as a whole, is it worth my investment dollars today in 2026? I'm recording this December 5th, 2025, December 5, 2025. 100% no, it's not worth it for me. But form your conclusions. You don't have to take my conclusions regarding this matter. You can go ahead and form your own conclusions. But for me, it's time for me to get off the Nigerian palm oil fence and just choose the side. Is it worth my investment? Is it not? And currently, my answer to that is no, it's not worth my investment, especially just farming alone. If I were to get somebody to refine it for me, I'm not talking about palm CPO refinement, I'm talking about RPO, the white one. That's really where the opportunity is. But that is rare. You got to have the right machineries for that to be able to make that work. So yes, just wanted to share that with you. Sorry for the initial technical issues that we had. I know we had some people waiting, but hopefully, this is the good thing about this is you can play it back. And thank you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. I will see you guys on the next live. That's gonna happen on Monday. And if you are currently in the middle of cultivating an all palm tree plantation, let me know where you are with that. With that, how is it working out for you? Which state are you in? How many hectares of land do you have? Are you cultivating strictly for export, or are you cultivating for local consumption, or are you doing a little bit of both? But if I were advising you, I think the opportunity is just in exports. Don't worry about the local consumption. I mean, like the Nigerian government do the imports. They got to import 500,000 tons of palm oil into the country every year because we just don't have the land. We don't have the workforce. We may not even have the seedlings. We just don't have the capability of truly becoming a net exporter of palm oil in Nigeria. So this is not a slam. It's not, I'm not bashing anybody. The figures are there. The stats are there. Nigeria is not a major exporter of palm oil. To be honest with you, Nigeria doesn't even exist really in the palm oil export value chain. Nigeria really doesn't, unfortunately. A country that was once number one in the world. Unfortunately, we're in the position that we're in. Okay. CJ Patton, yes. What question do you have regarding that tonnage? So based on my research, like I said, it's going for about 950, between 850 to $950 per ton is what the global markets is paying for CPO, crude red oil. Is what the global market is paying. How is Nigeria going to meet that now? Let's be honest. When we are selling 25 liters for 70,000 naira. How are we going to meet that? We just can't. We cannot compete. Don't let anybody lie. If anybody out there is telling you that they're a major palm oil exporter, show me that person. If anything, if they're exporting, so you got to look at it like, I feel, in my own humble opinion, if let's say you're in a position to actually export CPO out of Nigeria, you are better off selling directly to the end users, to just the end user. You can't compete if you are selling to companies because Malaysia is going to price you out. India is going to price you out. Portugal is going to price you out. So when we were in the business, when I was in the palm oil business 2 years ago, that was how I made the little money that I made from that was I sold directly to end users in the United States. And I was selling mine for $12 per. I bottled them in 10-ounce bottles, 10 to 12-ounce bottles. So I'm getting $1 per ounce of red oil when others are selling theirs for $20 per liter. I was pushing mine out for nice bottling, world class nice bottling. I was getting $1 per ounce. So for a 12-ounce bottle, I was selling it for $12. The reason I got out of it was because I just couldn't find a good source. And also, guys, palm oil is also it's seasonal. People think it's all year round. It's not all year round. It's seasonal. I could not find a reliable meal because this was coming from Akwa Ibom State, my home state. But I just couldn't find that what I would call a decent standard refining operator because the person that I was using was this backyard village refiners. I mean, they make good oil though. I mean, the oil was delicious because it was the unadulterated version. Unlike the ones that they sell in Lagos now, I'm telling you guys, most of those ones are watered down. They are adulterated palm oils that you are buying in Lagos. If you truly want quality, village quality red oil, you got to go to the village for it. The more hands that touch it in the different touch points, let's say it goes from the farmer to a wholesaler, that wholesaler is going to adulterate it. They're going to add extra things on it that shouldn't be there just to be able to maximize their profit. By the time that your palm oil goes from the village in Akwa Ibom to a market in Lagos, it has probably gone through 5 different resellers. By the what you are consuming, the palm oil you are consuming in Lagos is maybe 25% of actual red oil. The others is adulterated. So although my supplier was giving us the quality add-in for the people, you know what I'm talking about? Unadulterated. I'm talking about freshly processed was what I was getting. I just could not meet up. The guy just could not meet up. The most he was able to give me at any given time was about what? Maybe 50 liters. And then he would say, come back and get more. Come back. No, I'm like, listen, I don't have time for this. I'm selling in volume. And when I brought those in, I was selling them in volumes. So I just decided that it wasn't worth me doing anymore. I mean, when I go to Nigeria, I'll bring back what I can. We still have red oil from like my last trip in the house. I mean, I'll bring back what I can just to support them locally. But as far as like commercializing the palm oil business, I just stopped doing that. It just wasn't worth it. But the good thing for me is I'm still lucky that I'm still eating high quality CPO, crude palm oil from Nigeria, directly from my village. Like most of other things that I import into the US are high quality items, unadulterated items. Even Gary now, they're starting to adulterate Gary now. You guys are aware. It's like everything is adulterated. So we adulterate locally. And just like palm oil, Nigeria still cannot meet the local demands. Although there's no data out there, like palm oil has data, there's no data out there that shows the Nigerian, Gary consumption and production. There's no data out there, unlike palm oil. But I'm guaranteeing you right now, telling you right now, Nigeria consumes more Gary than it produces. And in some cases, we're even importing Gary from other countries. Okay, what is the best way forward in developing Nigeria? What can we do? When will the Naira gain value? The Naira starts gaining value in Q1. So expect, oh, sorry. When would the Naira gain value or when would the dollar gain value? Because currently Naira is strong. So that's a two-part question. Let's focus on the Naira side first. So Naira gains value generally in Q4 of every year. Like from from October to like end of Christmas, end of the year is when Naira gains value. So the dollar is generally weaker during that time frame. Starting in January, New Year of 2026, Naira weakens and then dollar gains. So if you are abroad investing in Nigeria, that's actually what you want. You want to invest and grow your money when the dollar is strong. So right now, as of December 5th, 2025, as of right now, you can consider Naira strong. What is it right now? Let me check. Naira right now is about because I traded this morning actually. I sent money to so I'm leasing a warehouse right now in New York. So I had to send money to pay for the warehouse for another year. So right now Naira is 1,000, a dollar to Naira is 1,458 Naira to $1. So yes, I'm leasing a warehouse in Uyo right now, and the lease was due today, so I had to transact and send the landlord his money for another year. But as 1458 though, it's still okay. I mean, if it drops below 1,400, that's considered really, really strong. But we're already 3 weeks or 2 weeks to Christmas. Maybe the Naira is stronger by Christmas, but then after that, maybe like a week before Christmas, it might be stronger than it is today. And then starting in January of next year, it's gonna start weakening. Then you're gonna see the Naira go from a dollar to 1,470, and then it's gonna rise to 1,490, and then it's gonna cross 1,500, and then it's gonna cross 1,600. The most that I ever traded was about 1,750. Man, I wish I had traded more. Because I just kept hoping that it would go up more. So, what is the best way forward in developing Nigeria? What can we do? You see, the problem with Nigeria is we don't really have a lot of economic sectors, to be quite frank with you. Just think about it for a second. And I can only make a comparison between the Nigeria and the United States. So we have the tech sector here. We have a robust sports sector in the United States. Basketball, football, college basketball, college football, college baseball. We have equestrian for those in the horses. So I live in Las Vegas. We have conventions every year in different sectors from literally everywhere. The rodeo sector is here. Cattle, livestock, construction sector. I mean, US has a robust, well diversified sectors. In Nigeria, how many sectors now do we have? Let's talk about like the sports. Oh, entertainment. Guys, just today, Netflix just bought Warner Brothers for $82.5 billion. So America has an entertainment sector. We export our movies to the world. We export our entertainment to the world. We have the movie industry locked, music, you name it. Nigeria, let's talk about Nigeria's sports sector. Do we even have collegiate soccer in Nigeria that we can monetize? We don't. The professional soccer team that we have, Nigerian Super Eagles, they can barely pay their coaches. You have players that are boycotting left and right because they can't be. The Nigerian government owes them money. Is it the National Football Commission in Nigeria? What do you guys call them? Nigeria cannot pay its sports coaches. If you can't pay, you can't attract. If you can't pay talent, you can't attract talent. So, the sporting sector, how many sports do we really have other than football? And even at football, do we even have high school level? Because in the US, these scouts start looking at talent at the high school level, sometimes even junior league. Same thing with Europe, with European or UEFA Cup. They start looking at them at the tender age of like 10. And they groom them, and then they turn them into superstars. That is one way for us to develop Nigeria is diversification of sectors. So we don't have a robust sports sector in Nigeria. Forget football. They can't pay their coaches. They're not even paying the players because the players only make their money when they play at the international clubs. And any time Nigeria calls them, it's almost like, well, I'm losing money just to go play for Nigeria. They lose money. I mean, they do it for country. I get that. But the majority of them make their money overseas. So where is the collegiate soccer sector in Nigeria? It doesn't exist. So let's look at entertainment sector in Nigeria. We have Nollywood that Nigeria depends on, Nollywood. Who besides Nigeria or people who know Nigerians consume Nollywood films? Nollywood is not an exportable commodity. It's limited to Nigeria there. And even then, locally there, are Nigerian filmmakers really making money? I just mentioned the whole Netflix Warner Brothers deal. So maybe that will give Nigerians more exposure to be able to show their films to a global audience. But if we are thinking of local Nollywood distribution in Nigeria there, how many Nigerian producers, directors, and actors are actually making a decent living? 99% of Nigerian actors right now cannot afford a Range Rover. For those of you who are worshiping and following your actors, yes, you can celebrate your actors. I mean, that's why they call them celebrities. Celebrate them. But they are not making money locally. But I'm glad, though, to see some of them starting to make content for platforms like Netflix, platforms like Prime Video. So that's the entertainment sector. Well, you may say, well, Wizkid is doing well, Burna Boy is doing well, those guys, but how many of them now are actually making it abroad? We can count on two hands how many Nigerian musicians are actually rich. So we don't really have, and then our entertainment, forget movies. Maybe our music is resonating overseas. And these guys are actually selling records overseas now better than they are selling in Nigeria. And then maybe they'll do shows. They'll go and perform for one politician or perform. That's how most of them are making money. So what other sector can you name? Do we have an equestrian sector? We don't. What other sectors? We are just depending on oil, oil, oil. And even at that, we still cannot supply the indigenous refiner, Dangote, with the crude oil he needs to refine. He still has to import. Aviation. Let's talk about aviation. How many flagship does Nigeria? When I was a kid, we had Nigerian Airlines. I don't know, CJ, I'm 47. I don't know how old you are. Did you ever fly Nigerian Airlines? I flew Nigerian Airlines once from Houston to Nigeria. It was something we were proud. We had our Niger had his own airline. That just went away. We lost that one. And now they are dependent on the states themselves to come up with airlines. So yes, Ibom Air is doing its thing. Ibom Air started all this. Well, no, no, no. Air Peace was before Ibom Air, and then Ibom Air just came and took it to a whole nother level. And now you have Enugu Air, they're doing their thing. You have Bayelsa Air just launched. Although the plane that they launched with, man, that plane is suspect. Me, I'm not flying that plane. No. That plane looks like a bus with propellers. So we don't have an aviation sector. And even if we have an aviation sector, we can't maintain Nigerian planes in Nigeria. Most of the maintenance is still done overseas. So I'm answering your question here, CJ, on how we can develop Nigeria. Okay, let's talk fashion. How many Nigerian fashion designers do you know? Me, I don't know one. I don't. You can barely even get somebody in Nigeria to sew you a decent up and down senator gear. That's why I stopped. For 5 years, I tried. I couldn't find a tailor to give me what I want. Fashion is major in the US. I was just at a fashion convention. I did not see a single Nigerian there. I saw 8 Ghanaians there. 8 Ghanaian booths. I did not see a single Nigerian booth at one of the top fashion conventions in the world. Okay, so I've given you oil. I've given you aviation. We're not playing there. I've given you fashion. We are virtually not existent. I've given you sports. Well, we're non existent. Technology, where are we in terms of technology? I'm talking about actually owning the technological patterns. Where's Nigeria playing in that sector? We're not there. Where are we in railway and railroad sector? My grandfather worked for the railroads when I was growing up in the early 80s. We're not there. Where is Nigeria in transportation diversification? We are not there. We don't even have the roads for the trucks to move. It's not there. You see, guys, the country is not going to develop. We need all these sectors because these sectors, when you look at the United States economy, and I know some people, I should not be comparing Nigeria and US. It's not fair, I know. Nigeria and the US should not even be discussed in the same sentence. Okay, so who do you want to compare Nigeria to? You want to compare it to our next door neighbor, Ghana? Ghana that's running laps around Nigeria. A country that's 6 times smaller than us is beating Ghana, they flog us. We cannot develop Nigeria by just talking about it. We got to develop Nigeria by building it. We have to first of all, though, envision it. And then and only then can you build what you've envisioned. I've always talked about how Nigeria lacks imagination, right? For those who follow me. There's no reason why Nigeria should be importing palm oil. There's no reason. But just like that relationship that I talked about, you just got to let the person go. You just got to break up. You want it to work so bad, you love them, but you just got to break up. I'm not saying break up with Nigeria, but I'm just saying there's just some things that just don't make sense that you just got to walk away from. Like this whole all palm oil thing just don't make sense. You just got to walk away from it and do something else. Let's talk manufacturing now, CJ. Where is Nigeria in the manufacturing space? What do we manufacture that the world uses? See, we are advancing. We are advancing Nigeria. We are talking because you're not going to get this kind of information or this kind of interactivity with your channels and your Rise TVs of the world. Those are guys are reporters. They are so you got to be able to come to platforms like this and converse and talk about these things. Where's Nigeria in the education sector? Oh, healthcare. Where are we? One doctor to 7,000 patients. Oh, where are we in ambulance? 4 ambulances in Uyo. Entire city. 4 ambulances. But, let me tell you one sector Niger is thriving on. The wedding sector and the burial sector. We are leaders in that one. Make them not even do burial. Through Niger be leaders. As the sector. Okay, I'll give you the burial sector and but can you export that? Can you export burial? Can you export wedding? That is how you develop nations. I just talked about what's happening with Singapore. Go to Singapore. Go to see what South Korea is doing. See what Ghana is doing in some capacity. Are these people not travelers? Are Nigerian leaders prevented from leaving the shores of Nigeria to go and see what the world is doing? Listen, let me tell you something. Most of the ideas that I'm implementing in Nigeria are cultivated here in the United States. You got to step outside of your comfort zone. Go and see what the world is doing. See what you can bring back to Nigeria. You can't develop a nation just by you removing fuel subsidy. I'm not saying that that's not good. That's good. Nigeria is saving billions of dollars by doing that they can apply to things like roads and other things that needs to be fixed. But where's the tourism sector? Let's not forget that one. Where can you say right now in Nigeria that you can advise somebody to go comfortably other than, let's say, Lagos? Our problem is we just don't have enough sectors to monetize. So, yes, they want you to farm. Make them go farm now. Tinubu wants you to go and farm. Is Tinubu a farmer? Yes, we need food. We need food crops. But farming alone has never made anybody rich. Go anywhere on this earth. Farming alone is not going to get you there. So as far as these non-existent missing sectors that Nigeria doesn't have, it's not as if we're going to wake up tomorrow and build a better sports sector or build a better entertainment sector. Let me tell you, a lot of these musicians are starving. Do you know why? Because The music industry in the US is dead. You may have maybe one or two people that are actually think about all the rappers. My brother wanted to be a rapper once. If I were in Nigeria, I would slap him. How many rappers do you know are actually rich? Okay, I'll give you Jay-Z. I'll give you Eminem. I'll give you 50 Cent. I'm talking about current rapper. Oh, I'll give you Drake. Outside of those four, the other ones are just performers now. They still depend on like show money and tour money and this and that. These other guys that I mentioned, they've transcended music. How many Nigerian artists have transcended music? How many Nigerian artists do you know right now can say that they have solid investments outside of music performing every day? How many of your favorite actors have something? Is everybody now is doing podcasting, then they are doing social media promotion for a fee, they are doing all that. But how many of those actors would you say are really rich? Unfortunately, our founding fathers did not plant the seed. They did not. When you look at the American system, the American economy, every generation makes the generation before it better. Every generation comes and adds upon the one before. Then they come and add upon the one before. The next generation from this generation is going to add on top. Nigeria, we take, we build, we go, we come down. We come down again, then we go, and then we come down again. So it's going to be, all I can say is, as far as like development goes, the best you can do is just do the best you can. Find your lane. Find your lane. Um, and I guess grow that lane. Other than that, if you're waiting to just one day you wake up and then there's a new Nigeria, it doesn't work like that. So when you look at like the United Arab Emirates, with what they did with Dubai and Abu Dhabi, I mean, that place was a desert. UAE is what, less than 40 years old. Nigeria is 65. Yes, you can say, well, what about when they have oil? So do we. Why can't we do with our oil what they're doing with theirs? I mean, overall worth of the naira, part of our problem is the weakness of the naira. Well, do you know why the naira is weak? Because Nigeria does not produce anything. Let me tell you, CJ, what is actually keeping naira strong today is the reserves that we have. Because that 26 billion dollars that's in the reserves is what the Nigerian government, what CBS uses to pad and keep Nigerian naira strong. Because Nigeria doesn't have an economy. Nigeria doesn't sell anything to the world. We just talked about palm oil now. We don't export. Tell me if Innocent has exported one car. We don't. Everybody right now is just banking on Dangote, and Dangote. So when you have a country that doesn't manufacture or produce much, a country that relies largely on importation of goods, you are going to struggle with your currency because nobody is ordering anything from Nigeria. Do you think Boeing is ordering parts from Nigeria? Or do you think major food companies, like all these chocolate companies, that this Hershey doesn't even deal with Nigeria. They deal with like Ghana because they need the Ghanaian cocoa. That's who they buy cocoa from. And then they'll process that cocoa into sneaker bars that we all, I don't eat chocolate though, but and then they'll send that cocoa back, that sneaker bars back to the Ghanaian economy at a premium. Nigeria exports nothing. I talked about, so I was at I forget because I go to trade shows a lot. I met a company, a European company that imports sesame seeds from Nigeria. Just one. And they import them for dirt cheap because we don't have the refining capabilities in Nigeria to be able to compete. You see, when global companies are trading bulk foods like commodities, they got to look at the quality of that product because that is what goes inside American foods. And America is not going to allow you to just bring in random shit. So that is why a country like China, India can just go to an aggregator in Kano and say, give me all your crap. Then go into your warehouse, give me every crap that you have, give it to me. Give it to me for 2 cents. And then they'll take all that crap to China. They will clean it up. They will add a little bit of value. They'll package it properly. And then they'll stamp product of China. But the origin country is Nigeria. That is what Ghana does. That is what China does. They aggregate bad Nigerian products, take it to their country, add a little bit of value to it, export it at premium. That is what contributes. And also, another problem too is because we are dependent largely on imports. You see, you can't buy foreign goods with Naira. You got to convert that Naira to USD. That is the global currency. Because now you got to go, you got to compete. Now you got to buy dollars to be able to buy something from China. It's not as if the Chinese will take Naira from you. You know what I'm saying? So Nigeria, there was somebody that told me last year that it's dirty December that's making the Nigerian Naira weak or strong. I'm like, what? He tied the strength of the Naira to the influx of people for dirty December. So okay, so let me just give you that. Let me just say that is true, which is not, by the way. So you mean to tell me that 30 days, actually, let's not even say 30 days. Let's just give them 14 days. Technically, if you want to do the whole dirty December thing, people start really entering Nigeria around that mid-December, right? And then maybe they stay till after the new year. So 3 weeks. So you're telling me that just a 3-week window in a calendar year really impacts the US dollar or the Naira. That's Nigerian sentiment and mentality for you. But we got to manufacture. We got to meet quality, international quality standards in our manufacturing. You see, when I was in a fashion space, part of the reason why I didn't want to get in deeply into Nigerian fashion was because they can never ever get the quality right. And international audiences. Could you imagine if I were to ship a cheap item to my customer in New York? Or let's say I have somebody in Europe that purchased, and then I just couldn't do it. So I stopped because the quality standard just wasn't there. So we need to get into. I know that Nigeria right now there's this aviation seminar going on in Nigeria right now. Actually, I mean, it may have just ended. It's happening in Abuja. I actually thought about going though, but my plans changed because I was interested. What is Nigeria doing in the aviation sector? So this was the inaugural one. It's called the Nigerian Air Show. Look it up. It's the current minister of Nigerian aviation that's running it. Unfortunately, my plans just didn't align. That's why I didn't go. But I wanted to go and see what Nigeria is doing. But with Nigeria now, it's like that's the first one. We may not see number two. Okay. All right. So USA is fully actualized society. Yes, it's an advanced society, but you also have to remember that it wasn't always like this. It wasn't as if you woke up one day and then you saw the US as it is today. People built it. Because the United States started initially with a very strong foundation. It's an everybody is included culture. That is why, and it's also a federal first culture. That is why before you even see a penny of your income, the federal taxes is already deducted from that income. So federal will take their own tax, and depending on where you are in some states, like I live in Nevada. Nevada is a tax-free state. Like the state of Nevada, we don't have state tax here. You know why? Because the revenue is driven by gambling. Nevada makes so much money, they didn't see a need to tax Nevada residents. That is why you see a lot of companies will come to Nevada and set up shop, or people are moving to Nevada. Texas is also another state that doesn't have state tax because of the oil in Texas, Midland, Texas. You know, but other states like California, I lived in California for 12 years, there's state tax there. Then you have sales tax. But the bottom line is people developed this community. Our interstates, the freeways that we enjoy in Nigeria today, it was President Dwight Eisenhower. That was the interstate president. It was during his presidency that the United States developed its interstates, our freeways that we enjoy to today. It started with Dwight Eisenhower. All the heads of states that we've had in Nigeria, all the presidents that we've had in Nigeria, how many of them can you tie to Nigerian interstates? By interstate, for those who don't know, I'm talking about freeways and highways. How many? Okay, I'll give you Babangida. Babangida was the one that made Third Mainland Bridge. Babangida was the one that set Third Mainland Bridge up. Before him, we didn't have Third Mainland. Since him, what other major interstates can Nigeria really boast of? Okay, so Tinubu is doing the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Okay, fine. If he completes it and the road is usable, and we don't have kids up and down, I posted it the other day on today's. Want to go to my archives? We can't have kids hawking granuts and chin chin on Nigerian freeways. We can't have people. Period. So it's not just that you're going to build it. You got to maintain it. You got to keep the road safe. You got to keep motorists safe. We got to protect lives. We got to protect children. We got to protect adults. We can't allow people to be selling shit on the roads. So let's say part of President Tinubu's legacy is this Lagos Calabar Costa. If he completes it, let's give him that. We can tie. Who is this guy that created the FBI? I forget his name. We can tie him to the FBI. He started the FBI during the mob era. Who in Nigeria can we tie today to security services? Look at the founding fathers of the United States. The founding fathers, George Washington. Does this new generation of Nigerians, can they even name the first president of Nigeria? Do they know? How many heroes do we have left in Nigeria? How many true heroes do we have left from yesteryears? Yeah, so you put somebody on a currency. I have a. Who do I have here? Let me see whose face is on this one. Okay, who are these guys? Do you guys know who these people are? I don't know who this guy is. Is this Nnamdi? No, Dr. Clement Isong and Alaji. I can't read today. I can't see today. Burma. I don't know who these people is. But they are on a 1K currency. But I know who George Washington is. I know who Andrew Jackson is. So we just put faces on currencies. We don't even know who they are. Okay. So Nollywood films are big in the Caribbean. Okay. We could do athletics, e.g., track, field, rugby. You know, Nigeria is actually not that bad in athletics. I remember when I was a kid, athletics was a major thing in Nigeria, but we don't really talk to. We don't really. They're not really. They are not really sectors that you can really export, other than maybe Olympics. But I'm talking about even internal monetization. I'm talking about like in the US, you have collegiate athletics where brands sponsor colleges. How many brands are do we on the collegiate level? We can't even keep universities open in Nigeria, much less have a collegiate, um, a monetized collegiate sector. I never flew it. Should the governors be more empowered? I mean, are the governors are they disempowered? You said you never flew what? Are you talking about like Ibom Air or what? Oh, okay, sorry. You never flew Nigerian Airways. It was a. I'm telling you, Nigerian Airways is that their green livery, big green livery, Nigerian Airways on the side. I flew it when I was 14. Talking about 1992, 1993. When I came to the US, you see, my dad was a British Airways guy. If it's not British Airways, he wasn't flying it. But there was a time that I went to Nigeria to visit. The man put me for inside Nigerian Airways, though. But British Airways, man, beautiful. I don't know how they are now because I just do Delta and Virgin Atlantic. I don't know how strong the British Airways brand is today. It's been a long time since I flew British Airways. So I think the governors are empowered, but what I'm thinking is the issue with most Nigerian governors is just, you see, everybody has an agenda. And a sitting governor is not obligated to complete the project or continue the vision of his predecessor. Is not because he has his own vision of the state. So, CJ, if I am a governor and I do my 8 years and I did my thing, and then in that process, the same thing, let's say right now, is happening with, let me just use Bola Tinubu as an example. So he's got this big white elephant that he's building, this Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway. And election is coming up in 2 years, in 2027, Nigerian election. You know that freeway is not going to be completed by then. So let's say Obi wins or Atiku wins. And these are guys that have been against that road. They're going to kill that freeway. If they don't kill that freeway altogether, they are not going to prioritize it. That is what happens. And that is why Governors can't build economies. They can only create an empowering environment. It's the same with Tinubu. Tinubu just needs to create an empowering environment for Nigeria to thrive. And I've always said this, and I've told you guys this before. You can't develop when a country doesn't feel safe. Because that is not an empowering environment. An environment where you can't sleep at night. Let me tell you something. Somebody went to Nigeria and slept in his car because he was afraid to sleep in his own house. He slept in his car. And I'm like, how were you even able to sleep? He was like, I'm in my car. I guess I can see everything. I don't know. He parked his car somewhere, slept inside because he was afraid to sleep inside his own house. He just gave up and went and got a hotel where he felt a little bit safer. So the job of politicians, guys, is to create an empowering environment for the private sector to grow. I have a lot of well-to-do friends in the US. They are just scared to go home. Would they want to invest and do things in Nigeria? They want to. But to them, it's not it's not an environment that they feel that they can come in and sleep well at night and grow their investments. So the governor should not feel more empowered. The governor should empower the residents of their own states. And it starts with you cleaning up the streets. You got to clean up the streets. You got to stop the kidnappings. You got to stop the crimes. You got to stop the carjackings. You got to stop the rapes. You got to stop the murders. You got to stop that. That is the only way it works. You got to also stop the 12-hour economy that Nigeria has, because when nighttime comes, everybody just closes their shop and go home. In the Western world, it's a 24/7 economy. You go anywhere. Listen, I can wake up right now at 2 o'clock in the morning and there will be somewhere open for me to go and buy milk, and somewhere open. Whether it's a 7-Eleven or there's somewhere open. People are working the night shift. They are working the overnight shift. There's always a business open. I live in Las Vegas. I can wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go and grab something to eat somewhere. Can you try that in Nigeria? What single best infrastructure investment would make the biggest difference over the next 5 years? You know, I'm not going to say infrastructure, I'm going to say security investments. I think Nigeria needs that more than infrastructure. Because me, I can stand a bad road, you understand, but I just can't stand feeling unsafe. So I think an investment in infrastructure should be Nigeria's core. Sorry, an investment in security, prosecution of offenders, locking them up to deter others. If Nigeria fixes if Nigeria fixes the security problem first, I think the world can forgive their technicalities and infrastructure handicaps. Not saying you should not invest in infrastructure, you should still, but uh well, it kind of depends though. You kind of look at, we need Wi-Fi. We're in a digital connected age now. Nigeria still struggles. A lot of areas in Nigeria is spotty. I think we've so far solved the telecom issue. Nigerians have phones now. People are connected. They can talk. I remember back then when I used to go to Nigeria, we used to go to Nitel to make phone calls. For those who remember, we used to go to Nitel. You go and queue at Nitel. So we've solved the telecom issue. The roads, to some degree, depending on where you are in Nigeria, like Lagos has a very good road network. Akwa Ibom has a very good road network. I think Abuja has a very good road network. So we are getting better on the road networks. But it's connectivity issue, at least for somebody like me. That's why I have to take my own Wi-Fi to Nigeria. Uh, the airport is getting better in infrastructure. What else? Transportation obviously can use some improvements. I'm talking about long tail driving, like coast to coast, coastal interstates could be better. Not saying some of those roads aren't good. Some of those roads are good, but they are very prone to attacks by bandits. What else? What else? I'm thinking of what like AI. AI is up and coming. Robotics is up and coming. I think automation would solve a lot of issues in Nigeria. If most things are automated, where people can get from one end to another with ease. Obviously, data protection. You don't want people's data to be compromised. But it's a combination. It's like a net. It's like a web of infrastructures that needs to come together. You can consider the Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway good infrastructure, but what if you're in a situation where the road is not completed and people are selling things on the roadside and poor maintenance culture? Yeah. So sector for me, I think honestly the future sectors will be AI and robotics, automation. That is where the world is. That is where you see you don't want to go where the puck is. You want to go where the puck is going, or where the puck is going to be. It's a term they use in hockey. So everybody right now is in the AI race. Nigeria can get there, but with Nigeria, we're always 10 years behind everything. Um, yeah, as far as like real estate is okay. I mean, that's a proven sector. If you are looking at like investing, you can start. So real estate is relatively safe for you to get into. But if you want to be a maverick, if you want to be a maverick, start looking into AI, start looking into robotics, because that's what the world is doing right now. You see everybody in the United States. Meta just invested 40 something $billion in AI. J. Edgar Hoover, exactly. That's the FBI person. They invested outside of Nigeria, etc. Temsco owns a football team. That's okay. So she's a minority owner of what team? If she's a minority owner, okay, that's fine. That's a good investment, guys. If you can be a minority owner on a, let's say, soccer team abroad. I heard like Davido also is deep in real estate, and I heard like maybe Burner Boy also has holdings in real estate. I'm not so sure about what Wizkid is doing, but those are like the top people. Should we not avoid automation for now so that more people can be employed? Although you're right, that's where the world is going. No, you gotta embrace automation early on. And you gotta build in flight. You know what I mean? Like you look at just picture this. You have a plane going at 500 miles per hour and you're building while that plane is flying. That is what's happening with AI right now. You gotta build while in flight. You can't wait until you settle down. You gotta. That is why a lot of these companies are investing heavily in AI. Now, if you look at the American culture, you see a lot of companies now are starting to lay off tech employees. People are laying off, especially in the tech sector. There's a lot of layoffs happening. Amazon just laid off like 10,000 people. Facebook is laying off. They are laying off to be able to preserve money that they can then invest into AI. I'm telling you guys, in the next 10 years or so, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. AI is going to do a lot of the mundane things. So start getting into AI, not just learning prompting though, on like ChatGPT. I'm talking about educate yourself in uh, AI administration. Take AI courses. It doesn't really matter what kind of courses. Just start getting involved with artificial intelligence. We are still at its infancy. You understand what I mean? There's gonna be eventually a super AI, then there's gonna be a hyper AI, and there's gonna be a ultra hyper AI. That's where the future is going. So Nigeria cannot afford to be left behind in the AI race. So no, let's continue. Let's people need to be employed, but a lot of these mundane jobs they'll be going away because artificial intelligence is what's going to drive things in the future. I think electricity, solar power, education, and roads would be the best investments in the next 5 years. So when you're looking at okay, so we're talking about energy. Look, you're looking at a situation where energy was something that was solved in America 100 years ago. Nigeria is still struggling with solving the energy issue. Even if you privatize electricity, how is it going to work in Nigeria? Nigeria is going to pay the electric bills. As far as like solar goes, solar is still currently being adopted in the US. Most people in the United States still use regular graded energy in the US. Is solar making a push? I think it's been making a push now heavily for the past 5 years, but not every home has solar. To be quite honest with you, solar can even be more expensive than graded energy. If so, if solar were to, let's just say it's a little bit cheaper, it's not much to be able to shift adoption. So if you are saving, let's say at the end of your monthly bill, you are only saving like $20 a month by going solar as opposed to graded energy. You see, it's not enough upside for you to change adoption. That is what is happening in America right now. And to be honest with you, a lot of this solar energy is also linked directly to the states because the states are not going to want to give up that revenue for solar. So there's a lot of politics that's going on. Like my next door neighbor has solar energy, and she told me she was like, "Man, I'm not really seeing that much. I'm not saving that much compared to when I had normal Nevada energy." Okay. And another thing too with solar is you can only power a small square footage of space. You are not going to power a warehouse, a huge warehouse with just solar panels. You can barely maybe even power a 4 bedroom house. You see these houses, they will have like 20 solar panels. Maybe it's just enough for that house, that bedroom, that 4 bedroom house. You can't go industrial. You can't be industrialized on solar. You could do a hybrid where it's a hybrid of grid and solar, but solar panels still has a long way to go. Education, and roads. I mean, roads are getting better. We know where they need to be. Education, that one is a problem, because of all the strikes, and we just don't have enough teachers in Nigeria. I mean, okay, so the teachers that were picked up, abducted in Kebbi State, are they still not? They're still hostages. We haven't even rescued them. So they still have like 200 and something children missing and then 12 teachers. You see, my wife is a teacher. Imagine if my wife were missing and she's adopted, abducted by some mad terrorists in Nigeria. So education, I don't know. Again, it's about creating that safe space. teachers have to have a safe space to teach, and kids have to have a safe space to learn. So the whole education thing, if you have teachers but don't have students, there's a problem. If you have students but don't have teachers, there's a problem. So we just need to create a safe space for them. Africa has more sunlight. They do have more sunlight, but then how are we going to tap that sun technology? You see, it's not about having the sunlight; it's about having the resources. Okay, so the US may not have as much sunlight as Africa, but everybody gets sun, right? And then Elon Musk is doing his thing with Tesla and electric vehicles that's solar powered. It's about having, okay, so we have all this sunlight. Okay, then why can't Innoson now do electric vehicles? It's about the resources. You see, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the resources to leverage that money, it's useless. Look, if you are in the Sahara Desert with $10 million, what is it gonna do for you? You got the 10 million, but you are in the Sahara Desert by yourself. It's the same analogy with sun. So the sun in Nigeria's case is the 10 million. And then the Sahara Desert in Nigeria's case is Nigeria. Oh, goodness. Why is electricity such a difficult? Why is electricity such difficulty in Nigeria? Do you know we power our neighboring countries? Like countries like Niger and Chad and Burkina Faso, they actually pay Nigeria to power them. But this electricity matter has been unsolved for since what? Since Nigeria's birth. They just can't seem to solve the problem. I don't know what the deal is, but they just can't seem to solve the electricity problem in Nigeria. You know, some of our grids too is just not modern. We still have a lot of poor quality grids that were put in place in the 50s and 60s. We just need to modernize that. But again, it's something that can be easily solved. All they got to do is reach out to a country like countries that have light. CJ, you are in Canada. Can they not go to Canada and say, how are you guys doing it? Can they not go to the US and say, how are you guys able to do this? And then copy it. You understand? So that's what I think Nigeria needs to do if we want to get out of this electricity thing. But it seems like everything is always government. But I'm glad that though they took a first step in trying to privatize electricity in one way or another. When I grew up, it was NEPA. Does NEPA even still exist till today? Does NEPA exist in Nigeria? I can't type today, it's Friday. Does NEPA still exist? Yes, NEPA still exists as a federal law, but its implementation is changing significantly. The overarching regulations from the Council of Environmental Quality were rescinded in 2025, leading to a shift where individual federal agencies will now implement the law based on their own procedures and the original NEPA statutes. This change is intended to streamline processes, though it may also lead to less uniformity. See, that's nice. See, that's government getting involved again. All right. CJ, I will catch you on next week. And yes, I'm looking forward to the panel as well on January 3rd, 2026. You guys are going to want to join us for that. We're going to be bringing in some people, panelists that are based abroad and invested currently in Nigeria in whatever sectors that they're in. They're going to come in and share their stories. They're going to come in and talk about what they're doing. There's a friend of mine that I actually have in mind that's doing something in the fintech space. in the banking fintech space in Nigeria. He's based in Texas. I'm going to reach out to him to see if he's available to join us on the panel as well. And in addition to our viewers, if you are based abroad and you're a Nigerian and you're investing currently in Nigeria and you want to come on the panel, let me know. Shoot me an email. Just go to mberiket.com and send me a message with what you do, where you're based, and the topics that you want to talk about. And we'll see how we can get you on the panel. It's going to be broadcast live. It's 100% free to you. It's going to be free to our viewers to join and learn. And join me in continuing to advance Nigeria through interactive, engaging conversations like this. Okay, guys, have a wonderful day. You may or may not see me tomorrow live, depending on my schedule. If I'm free, I maybe just I might hop on and talk about something that is on my mind. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I will see you on Monday. All right. Have a good weekend. Bye. CJ, bye bye.